hold up, I am on my way, I'm in motion. Let's go to the ocean. Yeah, let's go outside. We can hang out on the beach without freezing. Yeah, isn't that amazing?
Welcome to Crafty Beach. This is Julie. Today I have 6 all-new beach DIYs for you using supplies from the Dollar Tree. Lots of fun home decor ideas. Now for the first one, I chose 3 of the chunky signs from Dollar Tree. I did get different ones just for variety, and they're kind of big. So what we're going to do is just cut these in half. And I want to do a hanging beach sign, but I want it to look like 5 random different color, different size piece of boards for the background. And then we're going to make our letters with Dollar Tree rope. So the first thing I'm going to do is just go ahead and measure about halfway and cut this in half. They're nice, really thick signs, but they're a little too big for what we need them for. So I just cut that in half. I'm going to use that as a guide here on the other 2. And they have these in brown, a black color. I chose the white ones just because it would be easier to paint them, but it doesn't matter. It's kind of whichever ones you can find. And so on these 2, I'm just going to go ahead and cut them exactly the same, about halfway. And I'm also going to cut their height when I'm done with them too. So I only need 5 of the 6 because we're going to spell out the word beach. And I'm also using a 5-gallon paint stick there from Walmart. So I've kind of mixed up the 2 slat, 3 slat ones because I wanted to look random, right? So I kind of put them number 1, number 4. I'm going to actually take both of those and just cut down one side of those to make it a little bit shorter. And then flip one upside down again to make it a little bit more random. Now for this one, I'm going to cut a little off the top and the bottom to make that one the smallest one. And then I'm going to leave the other 2 as is. I think my saw might need a new blade. It's kind of cutting up the wood, but I actually kind of like the distressed for this project. Has anybody ever changed a blade on a electric miter saw before? I wonder if it's hard. And I'm just going to paint them different colors. So I want them to look beachy. The first one, I'm just using Cloudless by Apple Barrel. It's a real light beachy blue. And just doing one sloppy coat. I want it to look distressed. That way some of the white paint will show through. And then this is Apple Barrel Key West. It's kind of got a little bit more of a green tint to it. I thought that was really pretty. So we're going to do that on number 3 and number 5. And then I'm going to leave the second one ivory, just white, just how it is. That way it looks really random, even though the signs kind of all started out looking the same. Then I just use a sanding block, and as you can see, I'm just sanding along the edges. It's going to make the edges white. It's going to kind of bring that paint out from underneath of it and also distress it a little bit, which is that coastal farmhouse vibe that I'm going for. So I do that on all 4 edges, on all of these, to kind of give them that rustic beach look. I am going to distress them a little bit more too, just to kind of go with that. So I do that to all of them. I really kind of like that vibe of the white and then the sanded edge. To distress them further, I'm just using a little antique wax by Waverly and a dry brush, and we're going to very lightly distress this just to bring some of the brown distressing through. I get kind of some of that in the ones that I cut, but I want to kind of add to it a little bit. And the one that I'm leaving white kind of already has a distress, but I'll add a little bit more kind of to all the edges. But I am trying to work in kind of one direction. And don't worry if you're distressing. If you get too much on there, just have a baby wipe handy. It's really easy to clean that up and it dries really quickly. Now I'm going to put them all together, and I needed something long. So I'm using a 5-gallon paint stirrer from Walmart. These come in a 3-pack for $2 and something. They're a great size for crafting. And I just cut off the handle because it was a little bit too long. And then I just used my staple gun, and I actually had to kind of switch to some longer staples to be able to go through that ruler and securely attach it to that chunky sign. Usually I need like the short staples for Dollar Tree items, but this is nice and heavy duty. So they all looked pretty good except for that one. So I just replaced that one, and we have a nice sturdy sign. You can make this like a standing sign, but I'm gonna make mine hanging. So to do that, I just take some Dollar Tree twine, and we're just gonna double knot that to make sure it doesn't slide through. And then like on the second one, I'm just gonna use my staple gun to attach that to the back. And you could always use rope if you wanted like a chunkier rope handle, but I think that this is going to be fine. So I just tie another double knot just because the twine's really small, and staple that to the back. And we have a perfect blank for beach. Now, I really love like the rope beach words at Dollar Tree, but I know some of you guys can't find them, so I'm going to show you how I made my own. So I'm using the 9.5-foot brown rope, but anything you can find. I find that the thinner one works a little bit better for letters because it's easier to move around. And I'm going to try to cut as less as possible. So I'm going to start with my middle one because that is my smallest block, right? And I'm going to fill up most of that with a letter. And we're spelling out the word beach, so we're going to have an A here. And since this is my first letter, I really don't have anything to go with, so just kind of free styling this one. It looks like I need to cut it down a little bit because it's a little bit longer on the right side than the left side. And then just hot glue this on. You're going to want to use hot glue everywhere the rope is. You're not going to want any of that to pull away, especially like on a hanging sign like this, and for it to keep the shape to spell out letters. And we're just going to do capital block letters really easy. Cutting down a smaller piece for the center of the letter. Make sure you hold the piece you're cutting when you cut that. Otherwise, it can unravel, and you don't want that to happen. It happens really easily on the short pieces of rope. Now that looks pretty good. Now let's go ahead and measure it for reference, so I'll kind of know how big to make my next letter. It looks like it's about 2¼ inches wide, and I can start here on my E. Again, I'm going to try to cut the rope as little as possible, so I will use that same piece of rope for the top, the side, and the bottom. I just kind of went ahead and sketched it on so that I can see exactly where I need to be and try to keep it in measurement. Now, this is a bigger block, and the letter looks a lot bigger. I don't know if I measured it wrong or if it just appears a little bit bigger than the A, but it's okay. They're all supposed to look random anyway. So just working on one section at a time, I put hot glue on the line. So sketching it out with a pencil can be a really good idea, especially if you're doing like cursive and stuff like that, something a little bit tricky. But this is pretty easy to do, just the capital letters. So there is this middle section of my E. I did have to cut a separate piece for that. And I tried to smush it a little bit because it looked like it was a little bit bigger, but again, that's okay. So here is the letter C. That one's going to be really easy. I'm going to go ahead and cut that down to size, one piece. But I am going to kind of give me some reference points for how tall it should be. So I have kind of a guide to go through. And then I'm just going to do like part of the C at a time. Like the top half and then the bottom half. And I didn't really need to sketch that one out. That was pretty easy. And then I'm going to use that same size as guidelines to make a B. So I kind of put dots how long the B needs to go out to be the right width. And then I just start on the left side. I'm going to wrap it around. I'm going to go ahead and cut it right here because it's a little too thick to bend back really easily there. And so I am just going to hot glue that right there into the middle of the B. And then I'm going to have to do the top part of the B separately. I guess I could have started here, and again, I don't want doubled up rope right here. So I'm actually going to cut it about halfway and kind of cut it at a diagonal so it'll kind of blend in a little bit more and it won't be super thick right there where the B comes together. One more letter. We have an H, super easy. Now that I know the dimensions, and it's a nice easy letter. I do have to cut it into 3 pieces just because that's how the letter is shaped. And I really love how this sign came together. I think it was really easy. It's real sturdy. This is a piece that you could definitely sell if you wanted. Very high quality and definitely coastal, like something that you could find in a beach shop for your house. This is how it turned out. I really like the varying colors of blue, and I don't know where I'm going to put this. It's pretty cute. Maybe in my bedroom. I really like it. Okay, are you ready for another DIY? I'm going to show you how you can take one of the Dollar Tree canvases. This is one of the newer beach canvases this year. Kind of looks AI generated. And then I'm going to take 6 rulers, so 3 packages of rulers from the Dollar Tree. And I wanted to see, I'm always looking for ways to use these Dollar Tree canvases and ways to reframe them, things to do with them. And so I decided to try to make a wood like pallet sign with the ruler. So let's see what we can do here. The first thing I'm going to do is just take the hanger off the back of my canvas. I can save that for another DIY. And then I just need to remove the canvas from the frame. So just using my razor blade, I'm cutting on the outside of the staples. That gives me, I can avoid taking all the staples out because that's a big pain in the neck. I'm just trying not to damage the front of it at all. I don't really care about the back of it or the sides of the image. And you can always save that frame, for another DIY if you wanted, nice and sturdy. And again, I just want the front of this. And so I can kind of see where the creases are here for the front on the back a little bit better than the front. So I'm just going to use that as a guide to give this an initial trim. My plan is to attach this to the wooden rulers and cut them apart, and then I can reassemble it into a pallet sign. And you know what? I think this is one of my favorite techniques I've ever used with the Dollar Tree canvases. So even if you're not doing beach, you could be doing, they have so many beautiful Dollar Tree canvases, but it's really kind of hard to find a good frame for them, especially from the Dollar Tree. So this is a fun idea. I'm just going to go ahead and remove the stickers on them just to give me 6 pieces of wood. And they do have a bevel in between each sticker. I'm going to have that be on the back so it doesn't interfere with my pallet board design. And looks like 6 of them is going to be just about the right size. It's okay to cut off the very top and the bottom. And so just kind of lining those up to see what I'm working with. And I do want to cut the rulers down to size because of course they're too wide. I put all of the ones with the holes to the left, that way I can cut them all down. And I cut these all together in one stack, super easy, and all the same length. Again, I want to use the flat back side of the ruler against the canvas and the bevel side on the back so that I can glue it flat to these. So I'm just going to go ahead and line these up. I want them to be touching. And I have the flat side up. And I want them all to be kind of lined up like that. And then I want to Mod Podge the canvas to it because I want to not lose any of the design, even though I'm cutting it with the pallet board. So I need them all to be together at first. It's kind of hard to keep them all the same with the Mod Podge, but I'm just making sure I have a good coat of Mod Podge on all 4 of them, or all 6 of them, I guess. And then I want to be careful. I want to make sure that the rulers don't stick to each other. So I do make sure that I wipe the glue off the sides of them because while the canvas is drying onto the rulers, I don't want the rulers to stick together because I want to be able to easily cut these apart and make like 6 little pallet board signs. So this should be a little bit bigger. And so I just kind of lay it on there, centering it on there and smoothing it out on those flat side of the rulers to make sure that it has really good contact. Kind of flipping it over to see what we're working with. That looks pretty good. I did clean up some of the Mod Podge there on the back. Then I thought my heat gun might like speed up the process a little bit to dry the Mod Podge in there so that I can start working on it because I have lots of beach DIYs for you today and I wanted to get them all done. So I kind of have more on the top and the bottom. Remember, I was going to have to cut off that part of the image. I kind of knew that. So I kind of centered it on there when I put it on. And so I'm just getting as close to the ruler as I can and carefully trimming those off because it's not super dry yet, but it's kind of getting there. Right now you kind of have a flexible bending sign like that. But I think we can go ahead and start cutting it. I think it's dry enough. I'm just going to use a razor blade and then cut in between each one of the rulers. Better put something down so I don't cut my silicone mat. I think I burned it the other day with my heat gun. My heat gun gets really hot. And I just kind of start at the top, kind of looking at the back to see exactly where I need to cut it. And then you can just kind of feel the groove with your razor blade and pull it straight back. The first one I needed a little bit of arranging, so I was glad that the Mod Podge wasn't completely dry yet because I could arrange it a little bit because it didn't give me perfect coverage on that, but that's okay. I'm going to make sure that that is spread out enough, and then I kind of start there at the top in between the two rulers and then go in that groove and cut these apart. And as I'm cutting them, I'm just trying to make sure that I know which side is up. Like the beach scene can get a little deceiving. So I'm trying to put them in order and then cutting all 6 of the rulers apart. And this was a really fun idea. It was really easy to do, and I think it turned out so pretty. Now, to keep it together, you could use popsicle sticks. I do have some of these long, skinny bamboo sticks from Amazon. I do have those linked in my shop. I use those a lot for crafting. I really love them. But you could also use like jumbo popsicle sticks or whatever you have. And then I'm going to just kind of trim them. Basically, I only needed to trim. That one was a little cut different. And then basically, I just needed to trim the ends. So I'm trimming the ends, making sure none of the canvas is overlaying the rulers, making sure I have them going all the right direction. And I'm laying them out with like maybe a 1/4 of an inch between each one. So you can kind of see through the sign a little bit. Like that, trying to make sure they are pretty even. And then this is long enough, I think, to do both sides. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it. I like to cut these with my miter saw or my miter scissors. It works really well if you turn them sideways. And it's going to provide a nice sturdy base back here. I'm going to try to go towards the edges as much as I can because one of my rulers seemed to be a little bit bowed and I wanted to make sure everything laid flat. I just do a dot of hot glue on the bevel edge of each one of my rulers and then making sure they're all still spaced properly. That one that was bowed was causing me a little bit of trouble. I glue those in place just like that, super easy. And then I'm going to go kind of towards the edge on the other side as well to try to get that. It's the second one from the bottom that was not super flat. And so I do a dot of hot glue on each side over here and just lay that on. And we have a nice palette sign. It's really cool. You could also use paint stir sticks if you don't have access to the wood rulers from Dollar Tree, but I love those. I always try to stock up on them. I wish Dollar Tree had paint stir sticks. I would totally buy them there. And then I just took some twine and tied a knot. We're just going to hot glue that to the back. It's a pretty lightweight sign. So I think this will hold just fine. And I just hot glued the knots to the bamboo stick I had there on the back, making sure that is secure. And let me show you what this looks like so far. Isn't that so cute? I really like it. It gives it a lot of character. And then I thought, you know, the beach, maybe we should use some seashells. So these are those little tiny seashells that you get in the glass bottles at Dollar Tree. I've been having trouble finding these lately at Dollar Tree. I am stocked up on them, but I was looking on Amazon the other day. You can buy like giant jars of these and they're pretty inexpensive. I also get these little tiny starfish on Amazon. I have these linked in my Amazon shop. I love them. And I'm going to put one of those on there as well. So I just chose a variety of different colors and shapes of seashells that I can kind of populate onto the beach scene to kind of give it more of a little bit of a 3D effect. And just trying to put hot glue on a couple of the edges, just enough to keep it on there, but not so much that you're going to be able to see it in the final product. I kind of move it around until it kind of covers up all of the hot glue. And that looks good. I love the added touches of a few seashells, but this is how the pallet board sign turned out for the Dollar Tree canvas. I think it's a really fun idea. something I will probably revisit in the future because I'm always looking for a way to use that great artwork from the Dollar Tree. For $1.25, it is so inexpensive and definitely a great way to display it. What do you guys think? There's even a little boat out there. Hey guys, are you enjoying today's video? If you are, don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps my videos do better here on YouTube. Okay, the next DIY, I wanted to DIY one of the mermaid tail wreath forms from the Dollar Tree. I actually found this there the other day. It's not Shore Living, it's kind of Crafter Square. And I was out of town and found one. I was so excited. So I want to try to do a raffia mermaid tail. I picked up this roll of raffia on Amazon. I will make sure this is in my Amazon shop. I'm not sure if it is, but I will double check. And you can unroll it like this. So as you can see, it starts out really skinny, but if you unroll it, you get a nice flat piece of raffia that's pretty big. Does take a while to unroll it because you have to be careful because it does tear easily. So what I was doing was just going and watching TV while I unrolled these because you're going to need a lot of it if you're going to do a big wreath form like this. So I just started by gluing it to itself along the top. I just made a little loop and then I just wrapped it around. We're going to do like that zigzag raffia look that you see when you see like things that are like seagrass woven. And I did one right there at the top of my or the bottom of my where it goes up and down. I'm trying to think what that's called. I guess mermaid scales. I'm going to have it cross once at the top and once at the bottom, zigzagging and then wrapping that around the top. As you can see, I'm just doing a very simple wrap. And the next row will fill in some of those gaps, but since this is not like a straight up and down 2-wire situation, I am going to have gaps of wire that I will have to cover later. But I went ahead and did that one independently. And then I'm going to start with my next one here on the next row. I was trying to figure out how the best way is to attach it. The further that I got along on this wreath, I decided it was better just to kind of continue using them. I was unrolling the raffia in probably like about 4-foot sections. That's about how long you can easily like bring those through, weaving easily. And so I just glued it to itself again and zigzagged there to the bottom of the mermaid scale. And then you bring it in and you just kind of alternate like which one, because you want it to like zigzag with the one above it, if that makes any sense. So again, I'm just simply wrapping it around, and then I use that slot for reference in between the row on top. And so I'm going to do that all the way across. The more you have your raffia unrolled, the more it's going to cover. It does kind of want to roll back up on itself a little bit. That was definitely the most time-consuming part of this project, was unrolling that. Since I have some left on here, I'm going to go ahead and use it to try to cover like part of the top of this just by wrapping that wire there to make that look a little bit more finished. I'm going to try to cover up as much of the wire in this project as possible to make this look woven. And I've done these mermaid tails before from Dollar Tree, and this is my absolute favorite. This will look great on any kind of design wreath form that you have from Dollar Tree that's got like a lot of lines close together like this where you can weave it. So more unwinding of the raffia. I got a nice long piece here, and we can start here on the 3rd row. I want this whole thing just to look woven, and I love this look. It's so pretty. I have like a couple items that I've bought that had this pattern, so I kind of knew exactly how to weave it. Now, when you're unwinding it and you do tear it, like I tore it there, don't worry about it because most of it's going to kind of squish up with each other. You're not going to be able to see it in the end. It kind of just all blend in. And so again, I'm just wrapping it. I do the top and the bottom of each scale there on the bottom, and then alternate going into the gap there on the row above it. And I have a little bit left over, so I'm going to wind that around here. Wherever I can kind of wind, I'm going to do that to bring me down to the next row. And I can go ahead and continue that onto the next row since I have a little bit of length left here. So again, just my same woven pattern. This part was really easy, and I don't want to glue any of this down. I want it to be all movable from left to right until, like, I'm done working with it. And I really didn't need to glue anything except for the very tip of the tail to keep it in place. So that was long enough to do 2 rows, so that was really cool. It's getting a lot skinnier down here at the bottom. So I unrolled another piece of raffia, and we're going to do these final 2 rows. We're also going to use this raffia to do the very end of the tail in kind of a different pattern. Here it kind of gives you a very close weave, but I'm still trying to follow that same alternating between each gap row, so it's nice and full here on this row. And then I'm just going to wind it around the side to kind of make it down to the very last row, which is very long, but I can actually use the openings here at the bottom with the fin to help me weave that. So I just wrap it through one of those and then come up and wrap it through one of my gaps. And it just kind of gives me a long, skinny wrap here at the bottom, but it definitely fills in that section, and my piece was just long enough. Just going to hot glue that to the back. I unrolled more raffia and we can start working on the tail. I'm going to actually just do a straight woven pattern on this. It's got so many different tail fin like lines there that I can work on. So I just start by gluing it to itself by looping it around just to attach it. And then I just do a simple weave where I go over, under, pull it through. And you can do about half. You could probably even do about the whole thing. That way you can pull it through a little bit less. I'm just trying to be gentle with it so I don't tear it or anything like that. On the trip back, I just alternate which ones I go over and under to give me that woven pattern. So the woven pattern is like really the only part of the wire wreath form that you're going to be able to see in the final project. I found that just from the shape of it here, it wants to kind of get skinny and all kind of cinch up together. You can see how skinny the raffia looks because it's kind of like pushing itself back down. But that's okay. I do want this part to be nice and full, so I am willing to do like a lot of weaving down here to get this section full. And the top part isn't done. We're going to go back and cover all the sides. We're going to go back and cover all the scales with more raffia to make the whole thing look woven, and it just turned out so pretty. So I'm going to continue this piece. I don't think it's going to be long enough, but I can always start and stop. I'm just going to keep alternating which way I go, and I'm definitely going to have to unroll some more. I got through quite a few YouTube videos. I think I probably spent 15 minutes putting this wreath together, but I probably spent 30 minutes unwinding the raffia. I wonder if you can buy it already unrolled like this, or if it always comes rolled up like that. I'm not sure. So as you can see, I just glued my new piece to my end of my other piece so I can just keep weaving. I think I can blend that in. You won't be able to notice. But again, it's getting super tight here, and it's really kind of sacrificing my width. So I'm going to start hot gluing it to the wreath form at this point, but just on the like left and the right sides to keep it from falling down. So I could actually get this finished because it's taking more raffia than I thought that it would down here. And so whenever I get to a side, I just do a very small dot of hot glue, glue that down, and keep continuing the weaving pattern till we get the entire thing woven. And I think I have just enough to finish off the tail here. That part looks good. Now we need to worry about the border and the scales. So I went and I unrolled 2 more things of raffia. I was trying to think, I think you could probably do this with the grass skirts from Dollar Tree. They are a lot thinner, and just the unrolling these and making these wider really helped. They kind of have the consistency of party streamers. So I'm thinking that could possibly work too if you don't have access to that for like this kind of a pattern. It really kind of felt like that, like crepe paper kind of thing. And I just started here in the corner, and I am just wrapping it trying to unroll it as I can so it covers more. And some of the sides I already had covered a little bit. I can just do like a one shot over those, but I'm going to go all the way down to the woven part and then kind of crisscross to the other side and keep using that same length of raffia to start coming up the other side of the tail. The sides at the fin are well covered. I'll just have to do the very bottom on that one. But I want to cover as much of the black wire as possible. I think it's going to make it look better here in the end. So again, I'm just weaving up here. I already had like those top two sections covered. So I'm going to go ahead and stop right there and start with this piece by gluing it to itself so I can wrap the down here. And I think wrapping it with a raffia is definitely the best way to do it. You could do it with twine or rope or something like that, but it would take a lot more, and I think it would kind of take away from the woven look of this. It's really funny. My husband just went to work and I was showing him this and he was like, oh, I really love that. He's like, it looks like a chalice cup for a pope. I'm like, it's a mermaid tail. And then he laughed and then I said, I'm going to talk about this in the video. And he's like, what? So time to cover the scales. I just glue it to itself here, another piece of raffia, and I'm going to keep going with that. And basically, I'm just weaving in between to try to cover up all the wire, just because this is such an odd shape and it doesn't cover the whole thing. So, you know, if I need two in one place, like it's got like a wider gap, I can do it 2 times around. I'm just kind of working through them, weaving it through, just whatever's necessary to cover that up. And that looks so much better. I'm going to use that same piece and just wrap on the side to go down to the next row and keep weaving that in between. I found that if I did at least one in between each one, it covered pretty good. That one needed 2. It was kind of a bigger gap. And just worked my way over here. And as you can see, it is really masking all of that wire wreath form, really bringing that like seagrass woven thing look up to par. So I'm going to start right here. We're almost done with this one. I'm not going to decorate it too much just because I think it's so beautiful on its own with this woven raffia. And I can't wait to display this one. I'm trying to decide if I'm going to like they're kind of smaller. So I was thinking maybe a wall hanging in my house. Or, you know, it would be really cute as a wreath. But I think that I might use this one indoors. It might make it to my Florida room. I don't know, though. I don't want the weather to get to it. It's so pretty. So I have another row here. And again, just weaving through whatever is needed, wrapping that around. When you're working with it, you'll notice that the raffia wants to kind of curl back up on itself. So every now and then you kind of have to flatten it out so that you still have a nice wide surface. And even down here on the bottom, you could still kind of see the wire wreath form a little bit. So I'm going to wrap that as well. We almost have everything wrapped. My final wrap I'm going to do is also going to incorporate a hanger. I'm going to hang it like with the tail fin down, but really you could do this wreath either way. I did want to kind of cover this corner here with the wire kind of showing out. So I went ahead and glued the raffia to that. It's my last piece and I think it's going to be long enough, and I wrap it in between to help fill up that. And then about halfway through, I'm going to leave a loop to make a raffia hanger for this. And then just kind of continue that all the way to the other side for some added stability, gluing that on the end. So it has like a built-in hanger now. And again, I told you I wanted to decorate it simply. I'm just going to use one of these wood bead starfish from the Shore Living line at Dollar Tree. They're really beautiful. And I'm just going to tie that to kind of hang down on the tail fin. I'm going to leave it white. I don't want to take away from the beautiful raffia. I think it turned out so pretty. You could also do like seashells. You could do like the other Dollar Tree starfish that's about this size, like the plastic resin one. This one's kind of like a like a resin ceramic. It's so beautiful. It's got a great texture. And I just tied that on to that crossbar right there where it would dangle down on the front of the tail fin. And all done. We have this beautiful like woven seagrass mermaid tail. I think it's so pretty. This is one of those pieces that I think I will treasure. Let me give you a little close-up look of how it turned out. Beautifully woven, great pattern. And I'm glad that I used the same material down on the tail as well. Here you can see the texture of that beautiful starfish. And this is how it turned out. I love it. What do you guys think? Okay, next DIY, I wanted to make like a beach lantern. And I found this one at Dollar Tree Plus for $3. It's black and I don't love that, but you know what? We're going to give it a coastal makeover. And I want to actually cover the windows of it with burlap. So I'm going to be using some of those burlap bags from the Dollar Tree, the synthetic burlap. And then instead of a candle, I thought I would use like a little push light. I thought that might be brighter to light up my lantern. Now, again, I said I wasn't crazy about the fact that it was black and metal. That's not very coastal. But to kind of give it the coastal look, I'm just going to distress this with some antique parchment, like an ivory color. And as you can see, I'm doing a very thin coat since I'm going over metal. You definitely have to have very thin coats you're working with. And I'm leaving some of that black shining through. So I'm just making sure that I'm painting all in the same direction. And that's going to give me like a little bit of a faux wood grain to kind of make it look like a wooden lantern in the end. So just working one section at a time. Didn't take much to dry it because it was pretty thin. And I want to make sure it's dry before I get to the other side. I'm also doing the very top and the little ring that's at the top. They do have like the plastic ones in the ivory that have like the solar candle and all that kind of stuff are outside. I did in one of my solar light videos. And I wanted to kind of give this one that coastal touch. Now, as you can see, one coat that the black was still showing through a lot, and I'm covering that really dark color. So I think it's important to go on with another coat, again, distressing, working in one direction, and that black that I kind of left before kind of gives it that distressed look without having to go back and distress it in another step. So just another thin coat all around, working in one direction as well, and drying as I go. I don't have to worry about painting it inside where it's all black. That would be super hard to paint in there unless you did like spray paint or something like that. Because again, we're going to cover all the windows because I wanted to do like little burlap covers on each one of the sides of the lantern that light up with like little ocean prints on them. I thought that would be really fun and coastal. So this looks nothing like it started with, and I absolutely love it. For $3, I thought it was better than trying to make it from scratch, and definitely a lot easier, right? So that looks good. I did get a little paint on the inside, but no worry, you're not going to be able to see it at all. But I'm going to try to clean it up a little bit. Now for the burlap, you could use real burlap that's got holes in it. That's going to be a little bit easier to light up. I'm going to use the synthetic burlap bags from Dollar Tree just because it's going to be easier to paint, cut, attach to it. So I'm just kind of finding out how big I need my little panels to be. And I have some of these bags. I use these for DIYs all the time, so I have lots of half bags that I need to kind of use up. But I'm going to make it slightly bigger. So I'm going to go ahead and do 2 while I'm at it. I think I totally measured this last one wrong, but I figured it out here in a minute. See how much bigger it is? Yeah, your girl's not great at measuring. That's when I realized, wait a minute. So I could have got 3 out of this side of the bag, but one piece of it was wrinkled there. And so I really want these pieces to be nice and flat, so we're going to paint them. And I want them to be sealed well inside the lantern. I'm only going to need 3 panels because I'm going to leave the back of the lantern open so that I can turn it off, on and off the push light we're going to put in there. You could use a battery operated candle as well, but I think the push light is brighter, and I kind of needed bright to really illuminate this burlap. So those are my 3 pieces. I'm going to go to my Cricut and cut out some stencils. So I will share the SVG cut files with you in the description below this video if you want to recreate. I did really simple, a seahorse, 2 fish, and coral. So I made them all about the same size, and I kind of spaced them out when I cut them. This is the stencil vinyl that I use. I get this on Amazon. I absolutely love it. It works great for stencils. So I have that linked in my Amazon shop as well, like under my Cricut supplies. And since I don't have any inside parts, these are just silhouettes, I don't even have to use transfer tape. I'm just going to peel off my stencils and lay them on top of my burlap. Those burlap bags kind of have a little bit of a plastic coating on the back, so they're going to be really sensitive to heat, so keep that in mind. And just putting these on here, trying to make sure that I have them fairly centered. To see if you have them centered, you kind of have to like turn it around and look at it. But they were actually really easy to re-stick because this coral one was really off-centered, so I just peeled it back off and tried again. Now I want to paint these. I thought about painting them different colors, but I think I will do the same color. I'm going to use that Key West color again. I'm really digging that color. And one of the stencil daubers from the Dollar Tree. And we're going to do 1 coat and just daubing up and down, trying to avoid any bleeding from the stencil. And I try to choose really easy shapes, so it'd be really easy, no weeding or anything like that. So the fish are going to be on the left side, the seahorse is going to be on the front, and the coral is going to be on the right side. And again, the back of the lantern is going to be open. And this is just a lantern that I'm making for the coastal decor in my house. I think it's going to be really pretty, and I love lighting things up, and I know you guys do too. So as you can see, I did use my heat gun, but I tried to keep it far away because I wanted to make sure I didn't melt the plastic on the back of the burlap. One benefit of that is you don't get any fraying with that synthetic burlap. And I'm just going to go ahead and peel off my stencils, and they look great, exactly what I was looking for. Now, gluing them in there is going to be a little tricky because, again, I don't want to use hot glue because I don't want to melt the plastic. So I'm just going to use some Dollar Tree tacky glue. I think that will be nice and thick. Doesn't take too long to dry either. It's just kind of getting in there is the trick, right? So I'm just going to do a thin band of tacky glue all around the inside of the opening and put my first piece in place. Trying to make sure I have it all glued down smoothly. My piece wasn't quite as big as I thought it was going to be. That's okay. You're not going to be able to see. And that tacky glue does dry clear if you use too much. It was a little tricky getting in there though. So we're going to go ahead and do the other side. I probably should have put glue on both sides while I still had it more open. But it worked. I went all the way around all the edges, and I'm going to lay my coral piece in, smoothing that out with the burlap side out, like that. And try to clean up any excess glue that may have seeped out, and try to center it on there as best I can. You definitely have some play time with the tacky glue that you don't get with the hot glue. And then the front of it, I want it to be that seahorse pattern. That's my very favorite. And so you do have to take a little bit of time on this project just because you got to let your tacky glue set up a little bit. But I was actually surprised with how quickly it did dry. So the last piece is my seahorse. And I really don't think this needs anything more. We've got like the painted stencils. I'm going to pop in a Dollar Tree push light, super bright, easy to turn on, right there in the bottom of my lantern and easily accessible since, I'm going to need to be able to turn it on and off. And this is how it turned out, our little coastal lantern DIY with burlap windows. And I love the idea of like painting the little ocean shapes on there. And I'm, trying to incorporate as many items that are not from the shore living line as I can, because I know a lot of you guys are having trouble finding those. Dollar Tree did not do a great job with that this year. Hey guys, have you visited my new website? It's craftybeach.net. What's going to happen is every time I do a video, I will have a blog post. You can go to craftybeach.net, find the video that you're looking for. Right now, I've just started this, so I have Easter and spring and coastal beach. You can go down and find the pictures for each one of the DIYs I made in that video. You can even pin them on Pinterest. If you scroll down to the bottom, you can even find the YouTube video to find out how I made them. I'm going to have everything browsed by season and contact information on there, as well as my Amazon shop for the items that I recommend in my video. And I even have a link to my Etsy store if you want to pick up some of my fun crafting meme printables. They seem to be pretty popular, and I run lots of sales there in my shop. So craftybeach.net, be sure to check it out. Trying to get this new website launched. Okay, are you ready for another DIY? This one's going to be pretty easy. I picked up one of these signs from the Dollar Tree. I love it. It's like one of their three-piece signs, but just plain Jane, right? So ready to craft. And then I picked up some of the wall charms and a wind chime from the Shore Living line that are all kind of white and all about the right size for these panels. And we're going to do a really fun coastal sign that's super easy. Now I want to cover each one of them with burlap, even though it's about the same color as the sign. These signs come in different colors too, just like the chunky signs. I chose this one just because it's going to kind of be brown anyway. And I'm covering it with burlap. This is rolled burlap that I had from Walmart. I don't know, it looks a little bit stained, but I think I'm going to be able to cover that up. And it's like a 6-inch roll. You could always use Dollar Tree burlap, but this was almost a perfect size. So I thought, why not use this? It's going to make it a little bit easier. And just trying to cut straight against my lines to give me a straight burlap edge. And I got 4 little squares of burlap that I can then Mod Podge on. I always get way too much Mod Podge. I do want a thick coat, thick enough to hold the burlap on there as a fun background, but not so much that it's super messy. Just enough to make it stick. So I do a medium coat of Mod Podge on all 3 of these and just sitting that burlap right on top. Now, if you can't find the wall charms and stuff like that at your Dollar Tree, the Shore Living line, you can use whatever you have that's coastal. You could use seashells, some of the sand dollars and starfish that they had. I ordered those by the case, and I ordered the ceramic wall charms by the case. I loved those. And I'm just going to give it a quick dry. Again, I do have a little water damage on that top one, but I think it's going to be okay. The wall charms are my favorite because there's no holes to fill or anything like that. All you have to do is pop the staples out of the back, and you have a great distressed white and wood seashell. This is one of the wind chimes. If you haven't checked out my wind chime video, you'll have to go check it out. I have so many fun coastal wind chime DIYs. And I am going to save that driftwood for something else. And we're just going to use the starfish off of that one. And then this one is another wall charm. This one is the sailboat. I love the fact that these are painted white and distressed with wood. They look perfect and coastal, all ready to go. This one does have a hanging hole just because it was a wind chime. So I'm going to fill that one in. That's not part of a normal sand dollar, just with a little bit of spackle. And this one's not distressed like the wall charms are. And so I found that if you take a sanding sponge, you can definitely distress it and bring that brown wood through that you have there on the other side. And I kind of distressed it. I wanted it to look distressed but not scratched. So I am going to touch mine up a little bit with some white acrylic. And I found that sanding the different sections there of the sand dollar that had pattern on them kind of gave me more of a distress. And then just making sure that the hole in that is completely filled in with spackle. Now it's going to be super easy to attach. I just do some hot glue along the rim that sits a little bit closer and glue that on through the burlap, making sure it contacts the sign. And I do the same thing with the seashell and with the sailboat. That's why I always pick these up. They're so easy to craft with and they're so pretty. So I glued all 3 of those in place, and basically that is all there is to it. burlap and seashell, sand dollar, and sailboat wall hanging. Very coastal, so easy with the sign that's already all attached and ready to go. Dollar Tree knows us crafters sometimes, giving us those blank projects like that. And the size on these are all great. I think they look really good together. And for the next DIY, we're going to get really creative. This one is for you, Melinda Elizabeth, in honor of your mom. We're going to make a lighthouse DIY. I know you said you wanted a new one, and we're going to take 2 of the longer shelves from Dollar Tree, the wider ones like this, and 2 packages of the shorter ones as well. And what I want to make is a lighthouse shelf. Now, something that you could hang on the wall. I'm actually going to make mine freestanding. You could even, I'm going to kind of use it a little bit like a tier tray, a small tier tray. So I'm going to go ahead and unpackage everything and start kind of cleaning up the wood. Sometimes they're not all the same, but I try to choose similar packages here to work together. I want to have the bottom be wider like that. And then I want the edges to slightly come in to make it smaller at the top like that to make a lighthouse. So I will have to cut down the top one. I'm going to cut it where I cut the holes off of each side of the sign for the top part. And we're going to leave the bottom part of the lighthouse the size that the shelf actually comes in. So just doing a quick sand to kind of clean up those pieces that I cut down. I'm also going to do the little holes. I'm leaving the holes in there. I don't really care about those. But just trying to clean them up and make sure there's no splinters sticking out of them. And then for the shelves, I'm going to put some little Jenga blocks, the little mini ones from Dollar Tree, to actually be braces to hold up the shelves to make them a little bit stronger without having to use any hardware or anything like that from the sides. So I'm just going to kind of space these out, gluing these where I want each one of the shelves to be on our lighthouse shelf. And about halfway, I'm only going to do 1 per shelf on each side, glue that in place. So I did that one 4 inches from the bottom. This one here, I'm doing 8.5 inches, I guess, from the bottom. It's kind of a random size shelf, so I couldn't do it super even. I'm just kind of eyeballing what I want, but I'm going to make sure that I do this one exactly the same because this is going to be the other side to hold it up. Now, even though I'm going to be working at angles, I'm going to try doing any crazy miter cuts or anything like that because we like easy DIYs over here. So I want it to be like this though. And then this can be the base like that, and this can be the top. And we can have a slowly descending, smaller shelf at the top to make our lighthouse. And then we can also do a candle at the top. So I'm going to start here with the top piece by doing a bead of hot glue close to the edge, but enough that I have a little bit of an edge once I glue it on there, and I try to do that evenly, gluing that where, as you can see, they're kind of sticking out a little bit further here at the bottom. And before they set up too much, I'm going to go ahead and glue the bottom on. I just did right where the holes were. That's going to cover up the holes and act as the base. So, I mean, it's thicker at the bottom, as you can see, but not crazy amount. Now for the shelves, I'm going to use those smaller pieces. I wanted to use all the same shelving, so they're all the same width, so less cutting. And that looks like the perfect size here for my top shelf. I did make sure to cut off the holes on them, just because why not? I needed to cut it anyway. This one's going to be a little bit bigger, and I am cutting it a little bit smaller so it'll fit in there because, again, the angles, it's going to be a little tighter on the top than the bottom. But I have those great braces in there that's going to act as a bottom for my shelf. Now, you could just leave them like that, but I always like my pieces to be pretty sturdy, so I do a bead of hot glue on the top of each one of my Jenga blocks, and we're actually going to glue our shelves in place. There probably won't be any need to take them apart, but I guess you could always make adjustable shelves if you're creative. And I'm going to leave the inside all unfinished wood, the shelves and everything like that, but we will paint the outside to make it look like a lighthouse. So I'm going to paint the sides, and I want to do a stripe pattern. I'm going to do a horizontal pattern. I thought that made sense since of the square shape of my lighthouse. And I don't have any painter's tape super thick, so I'm actually going to use a couple pieces together to represent like a wide stripe. And we're going to start painting this. I'm just going to use one coat of acrylic. It was pretty easy to paint. This raw wood from the Dollar Tree. It paints really nicely. So the first color I'm using is antique parchment. It's just like an ivory color. And I just went over the base and the bottom part of that shelf. And then the center section. And then I'm also going to use that ivory color on the very top part. I am trying to make sure that I don't get any paint kind of leaking on the edges there. Since the inside's not going to be painted, I don't want any of like the raw wood to be covered up by that. But I do want to kind of cover the ends of the top shelf there to make it blend in with the side of the lighthouse like that. And I'm going to use that for reference to do my painter's tape on the other side. So without removing it, I just kind of sit it on its side like that and use that for reference where to put my painter's tape so that it can be symmetrical. My stripes on my lighthouse will be the same on each side. So again, just ivory paint for the bottom, the middle, and the top. I'm doing really big, chunky stripes on this. You could always do like horizontal pattern if you wanted, or diagonal. I'm thinking you could do just about anything. You could kind of paint it to look like stone, whatever vibe you're going for. My house is all coastal, so I'm going to go with beachy colors is what I was thinking. Now, I just reused my painter's tape and moved it onto my white paint that has dried. And I kind of regretted that because I did get a little bit of bleeding on this one. So you might not want to reuse your painter's tape. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I'm using that Key West color again of Apple Barrel. I thought this would look really pretty. If you wanted to look more nautical, you could use like a navy or a red or something like that. And that would look really good for the 4th of July. And then just doing one coat of blue on these two chunky little stripes. And we can remove the painter's tape, and that's where I had a little bit of bleeding. So I'm going to clean that up real quick and just kind of fix it with the original color so you can't tell. But that's my striped side of my lighthouse. I really think it helps give the shelf that lighthouse feel. So this side I'm going to use new painter's tape to avoid the bleed. Make sure it's super sticky. And just lining it up where I painted it white. And I was just thinking, you could even stain the wood. You can really make a lighthouse any color or pattern that you want. You can get really creative with these. And again, I'm using the Key West color for my two chunky blue stripes. And I just found it easier to leave the inside like all the unfinished wood. So this is what we have so far. Our little lighthouse shelf. Isn't it looking super cute? Now for the top of it, they have this little area at the top of the lighthouse. I think it's called you guys have told me before, a gallery maybe? And I wanted something for fencing. And I thought this would be a really easy, fun touch. This is the metal ribbon from the Dollar Tree. Because I thought that would be something fun that I could make like a railing to go around the sides of the gallery. Something that kind of looks a little bit like fencing, but this is going to actually look ornate. But I didn't think it looked too ornate. We still got like that galvanized metal. And I just glued that on all the way around on that top edge, making it stick up to the top. So I'm lining it up to the bottom of that shelf. And I have rounded edges, so I went ahead and made this last cut just a little bit longer so I could wrap that around and make sure all 4 edges are kind of rounded and make them make sense. Mine had a little bit of rusting on it. I don't know why, but I'm just going to touch that up with a silver marker so you won't be able to tell. And then for the top, I'm going to use one of the square candle holders from the Dollar Tree. I chose square just because my lighthouse is kind of square, so I thought that would make sense. And then I thought we could do a fun little beachy candle for the top, and it'll light up like the top of a lighthouse. The first thing I'm going to do is use a bottle of those little Dollar Tree seashells. And I'm going to mix that together with some Dollar Tree tan sand, shaking that to make a base for my candle since it's kind of a big candle holder for a smaller votive candle like that. And then I can just sit this right on top. I'm not going to attach it or anything like that. It's just going to be a candle holder up there on the top of my lighthouse. And it really turned out cute. I like the square effect. You could get away with doing a circular candle up there if you wanted. But let me give you a view of our lighthouse shelves before we go ahead and fill it, because of course we're going to fill it up and make it look cute, right? But it looks pretty cute already. Super fun. So to fill it up, I thought some of the fairy garden items would be cute. Some of like the nautical stuff. So this is the little boat. Super cute. And then I'm going to use one of the little monkey, what are they called? Monkey rope balls from the Dollar Tree Shore Living line. And then like a little boathouse that I got at the fairy garden section too. And it looks nautical. It's got like a life ring, an oar. So I thought that looked like an old boathouse as well. Now, the only thing I didn't like is that these were like kind of like royal blue. And I painted my lighthouse that beachy blue with the Key West. So you know what? I'm just going to kind of update the paint on these. Sometimes they need updating anyway. But just to make it coordinate more with my decor. But if you like the nautical look, you could totally leave them as is. They're not painted too badly. And I'm not great at painting small things like this, so be kind. I'm trying to do the best that I can. I've had people complain before about that, and I'm like, I have rheumatoid arthritis, and painting little things like this just really is a little bit difficult for me. But I just went ahead and made all the things that were royal blue, like that beachier Key West blue. And then it wasn't painted great to start with, and so I am going to touch it up with a little white too to cover up any of the kind of areas that had too much paint on them to begin with, but otherwise I'm going to leave everything else the same color. Now for the boathouse, we're going to give it a little makeover too. Just going to change it from that like royal blue color to this Key West blue color. And it's already painted distressed, so you can paint it sloppy. It's going to kind of go with the vibe, the coastal vibe of it. And I'm just using a smaller brush to try to get in all the little areas here. Lots of smaller areas here on the front to try to change that color. I'm trying not to get anything on some of these, but I'm going to paint some of them anyway, just because some of them, like the life ring and stuff like that, wasn't painted great. So I went ahead and painted that one white. The center, that Key West color. And I might as well paint the top of the roof too to make it look better. And then I'm going to use some paint pens for the details. So I'm going to paint like the little red stripes back on my life buoy. That was just not painted great, so I painted it where the whole thing is painted, not just the top half of it. And I found that the paint pens were pretty easy to work with these small projects. And then I'm going to touch up the wood for like the oar, the door, the window, just to make it look better with one of my brown Posca paint pens. And now it goes with the vibe of my house, my color scheme, and this color scheme of my lighthouse. So let me show you how it looks all together. I will also show you how it looks all lit up. I think it turned out really cute. So there's our little boat, little tugboat. We have the like little monkey jute ball, and then we have the little boathouse there at the bottom. And then let me also give you a view of it with the candle lit up, because that really gives it that lighthouse vibe. I think it turned out really cute. So you could use it as a small tier tray, kind of like I'm using it. You could also use it as a hanging wall shelf if you wanted. I don't know if I would do a real candle on it if you did it that way though. Maybe a battery operated candle. But I think it turned out really fun. What do you think? Okay, you've made it to the final reveal for all 6 of our new beach DIYs that we made today. Be sure to comment in the comments below your favorite DIY or just come say hello. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. Okay, enjoy the final reveal.
closer every dawn. Ooh, we are dreamers of the shore. 7 years now on this boat, and we all know where we belong. Just wait. Wait for our home to show on the horizon. Soon we'll be there. Hold on tight. I can smell the shore. It's right in front of us. If we just hold on tight, this vision that I saw is getting closer every dawn. We are dreamers of the shore. When we can't read the sky, we just sail with the wind that we've got. And when we're drowning in doubt, just keep on believing. We are dreamers of the shore.
Thank you for making it all the way to the end of today's videos. That always helps me out here on YouTube. Even if it takes you a couple different viewing opportunities to watch the whole video. I also want to give a huge thank you to all of my Crafty Beach Bum members for supporting my channel. Thank you to Karen O'Haron, Melinda Elizabeth, Jamie Job, Susan Edmonds, Tracy Knight, Nancy Wunner, Julie Miller, Janae Farrington, Pamelia Wren, Maria Grace, Donna Schreiner, Sandy C., Debbie DeLay, and Ariana's mama. I appreciate you so much. And if you'd like to become a member of Crafty Beach, all you have to do is hit join underneath this video. It's $4.99 a month. You're going to get early ad-free access to my videos, and it's an easy way to support me here on YouTube. Now, if you want more beach DIYs, I've got you covered. Check out this video right here. Until next time, happy crafting.